An interesting fact about Israel is that the first general of the Israeli army was not Israeli. Let's explore this more. Shalom, my friends. This is the Kiva Gersh with Israel in 5, where we give you everything Israel in 5 minutes. Please like and subscribe. And if you have any questions or want to keep the conversation going, please do so below in the comments. The first official general of the Israeli army was a man named David Mickey Marcus. He was an American Jew who was brought over here by David Ben-Gurion to lead the newly formed army of the newly formed state of Israel. But how did that happen? Let's get a little bit of background. Let's zoom out a little bit in order to understand this better. Remember that the Zionist movement starts in 1880s, 1890s, goes into the 1900s. More and more Jews are coming. They're building more and more communities. And around the first decade of the 1900s, they realized that they need some kind of defense force, not against, people trying to stop them from fulfilling their dreams of a Jewish state, just to protect them from theft and other kind of small crimes that were taking place in and around their communities scattered around this land. And in 1909, the first Jewish self-defense organization forms. It's called HaShomer, which means the guard. And they grow and grow and become more and more accepted and more serious, defending communities throughout this land. Again, not because of any Arab-Israeli conflict, just because of theft and other things like that. In 1920, the Arab-Israeli conflict really does begin, and the Jews who are part of the settlements, the kibbutzim, the communities scattered throughout this land, realize that they need something even more than Hashomer was able to provide, and that's when the Hagana came into existence. Hagana means defense. They were defending themselves against Arab rioters, and people were attacking Jews coming out of the Arab community here in this land who were very specifically and very directly against Zionism and against this idea of a Jewish state in this land. And that will continue on for decades. The Haganah will grow and grow under the mandate of Palestine given to the British. The Haganah and other Jewish self-defense forces were illegal, so they needed to carry out their missions, their trainings, undercover, secret. Sometimes they were caught. It was not very easy, but the Haganah becomes the main fighting force of the Jews during these decades of the Mandate of Palestine. Now, remember, in 1947, the UN partition plan is presented to the UN, and it passes. The Jewish leadership here in Israel, what will soon be Israel, accepts it. The Arabs reject it. They start a war the very next day, and that launches the War of Independence. The British will be here for another 6 months, so there's no real way for Israel to declare independence or to officially create an army. So they're fighting a war with these different Jewish militias, basically, these different Jewish defense organizations. You had the Haganah, and after the Haganah came two more organizations with a bit more radical kind of philosophy and approach to defending Jews and to taking care of the violence that they were experiencing during those years and decades. One was called the Irgun or Etzel. The other one was called Lehi. All right, so these three different organizations, they're fighting, sometimes together, sometimes separate, these different Arab forces, literally fighting for their lives, fighting for their existence. Eventually, the British will leave, and moments before they do, in May 1948, the Jewish leadership declares independence, and one of the first things that happens is that the IDF is formed. The official army of the Jewish people here in this land is formed out of these different Jewish militias, and now there's one fighting force. Back up a little bit, even a few months before that, David Ben-Gurion, who was the leader of the Jewish leadership here in this land, knew that they needed some kind of expert. He had met David Mickey Marcus, and he asked him to find somebody who could really help strategize and organize and lead the Jewish troops to victory, to successful fighting against the Arab forces. They were fighting both local Arabs and also Arab forces from around the countries, from the countries surrounding Israel. David Marcus couldn't find anyone, so what did he do? He volunteered himself. Now, who is David Marcus? He was an American Jew. He's very, very assimilated, not very connected to his Jewish heritage, not very connected to Israel. He went to West Point and graduated there and entered the U.S. Army, where he became a very strong and influential and important leader in the U.S. Army. He saw the liberation of camps in the Holocaust at the end of World War II. He was there in Dachau, and he saw what the Jews went through as a result of being defenseless and stateless, and that changed his life completely. That was in 1945. So when somehow he met David Ben-Gurion, and Ben-Gurion asked him, for help, and he couldn't find anyone suitable for him, it was the greatest moment of his life. It was his time to step up and to give to his people, especially just a couple of years after what happened in the Holocaust. So he came here. He wasn't technically allowed to do so, but he did, and he spent many, many months here guiding the Jewish troops, organizing them, giving them strategies, teaching them how to fight this fight in the best way possible. Shortly after independence was declared, here in this land, unfortunately, there was an incident of friendly fire. A very young, new soldier had accidentally shot his rifle at David Marcus in the night, not knowing who he was, and unfortunately accidentally killed him. And this was the tragic way that his incredible life came to an end, but not before he gave so much to his people, not before he gave so much to the Jewish people and to the newly born state of Israel. The few months that he spent here were significant, and he really goes down in history as the first general of the new state of Israel, the first general of the Jewish people, of the Jewish army, for the first time in 2,000 years. That's an incredible and significant title to have, and he went to his grave with that. And that's how the first general of the army of the newly born state of Israel wasn't actually even Israeli, but he was a proud Jew and proud to support Israel. His body was brought back to America, and he was buried in the West Point Cemetery. And to date, he's the only soldier buried in the West Point Cemetery who died fighting under the flag of another country. That's very significant and unique as well. And the modern state of Israel owes David Mickey Marcus a lot for his leadership, for his support, for his passion, and for his love for his people and for the state of Israel. All the best, my friends, and be well.